Chuck Todd interviewed Kudlow, and it was a frustrating interview because I think Chuck Todd gave him too much leeway to talk. So all I did is I ripped that out and stayed with the meat. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
President Trump is touting today's news about GDP growth. The economy grew at a record 7.4% in the third quarter of this year. There's a lot of caveats to this one, but that's after it plunged 9% in the previous quarter, after the first shutdowns over the pandemic. So the increase came from an extremely lower baseline. The economy is also 3.5% smaller than it was at the start of this year, so we have not recovered from the start of this pandemic. The unemployment rate is at 7.9%, nearly 3.5 points higher than where it was in March, but not in double digits anymore. And about half of the 22 million Americans who've lost their jobs since the start of the pandemic appear to be still fully out of work. And with coronavirus cases again on the rise, federal stimulus money running out, no prospects for another relief bill in sight, the president is boasting about the economy. This third quarter number, to me, is a screaming, flashing warning sign to your administration, to the Senate Republicans, and to congressional Democrats that you need more stimulus, because this entire third quarter appears to be fueled by government stimulus, whether the Fed or here, and now we have nothing. Are we staring at a bad fourth quarter because of the inability to get a deal?
I think you're staring at a great fourth quarter, by the way. And you got to look at this piece by piece, Chuck. I don't think you're giving it quite enough credit. Yeah, we're coming back from a deep contraction from the pandemic. Absolutely agree with that. This V-shaped recovery is, in fact, going to be self-sustaining because of the inventory recovery. So that's the key point. Now, to your point on the stimulus bill, okay. I don't think the recovery depends on the stimulus bill. I do not. As I've said frequently, there are some targeted areas that we really could have used help on, okay? One of them is an extension of the PPP small business lending program. Second, you're right about unemployment. About half the people have gone back to work, but there is too much hardship there. I absolutely agree with you. So the president had to take an executive order couple of months ago to put $300 in and $100 from the states. That money is running out. Why can't Congress appropriate? If they're so concerned about unemployment, why couldn't they have appropriated a narrow bill? Okay, airlines assistance is another point. K through 12 school assistance on COVID rebuilding. We don't need $3 trillion. We don't need a wish list of Democratic ideology and politics. Now, why don't you wait till later, or we're going to have an election over these politics? We should have had this assistance bill several months ago.
It's Senate Republicans that didn't cooperate here. I will take your point. I think your boss and I think Nancy Pelosi wanted to cut a deal. But how is she supposed to cut a deal when Senate Republicans don't agree to anything and the president has refused to get Senate Republicans to come to the table? They haven't come to the table, Larry.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I wouldn't quite put it that way. There's some substantive policy issues here. As you know, one of them is the liability insurance issue. We should have had some safeguards and protections. Okay. It would help the economy. It would help small business. It would help the very restaurants we're always talking about who are suffering quite a bit. It would help the low-income wage earners who work in leisure and hospitality and restaurants. So the liability insurance thing has held up a lot, and there are other important disagreements between the Senate Republicans.
And the Senate Republicans said, pound sand. They said, we're not going near that number. So, I mean, I take your point. The issue is the Senate Republicans.
I think, Chuck, the issue here was key points, the state and local government issues, a lot of spending for mismanaged states and pension funds. The president has pointed that out. Mitch McConnell has pointed that out.
Do you realize the economic calamity that's coming if you don't bail out states? And by the way, the state of Florida, the state of Oklahoma also has revenue problems. It's not just blue states. If you guys don't bail out the states here, it's a calamity on the state and local governments, and the economy will crater. No?
Well, look, okay, that's an interesting point of view. I don't agree with it, Chuck. What will bail out the states is a strong economic recovery. That's what's really matters here.
Well, here's what I think is true. There's not a lot of trust in Washington between the three entities that you and I have been discussing.
Now, if you notice, Chuck Todd started the piece where he laid out the facts. And that's what I really love. He made sure and let everybody know the economy is in crisis. And then he started the interview with Kudlow. The important thing, if you notice, the real reason that a lot of this bill is being held is because these guys want liability for corporations. In other words, the corporations can say, you must come back to work, irrespective. And if you get COVID, hey, bye-bye, you can't sue us. You just got it. Bad luck. And those are the kinds of things that they're fighting over. And if you notice, they're willing to put everybody at risk. They're willing to make people starve because they must control. They must have the safeguards for their corporations. Nothing else really matters. If you take a look and you read between the lines of everything that Kudlow had to say, it is, well, the most important thing, we don't need to give a stimulus. Let's just let growth take care of it. Reduce taxes and give tax breaks to these guys. Let growth take care of it. In other words, we take care of the top and the crumbs will come trickling down and maybe the people will survive. No, that's not how it works. We need to get these guys out of office. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.